Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this. My name is Ruben Quinones. I'm the SVP Client Strategy here at Amsive, and we've got a special topic this session. We've been doing sessions for the last few months around e-commerce. Today is going to be about conversion rate optimization. We're actually we've been allowed to actually use two websites that we're going to go through and be able to, on the fly, talk about how we would optimize it. So pretty cool, and I appreciate those two individuals allowing us to do it. And I'm gonna bring in Tom and Ben. I'll bring in Tom first. He's been on with us before. Tom Domenico, you do something here. I forget.
EVP of stuff, digital EVP of digital strategy and technology here at Amsive. So I work with a number of teams, most applicable to today's conversation, of course, being e-commerce, which is where I have spent most of my career and enjoy being. So excited to be here and geek out with you and Ben.
Yeah, and Ben Moore. I like to say Benjamin Moore, right? Because of the painting company. Do you get that a lot, Ben?
Yeah, all the time, like all the time.
He's the heir to the paint fortune, you know, Ruben?
I wish I had that money.
So Ben, what do you do here for us?
So I'm the CRO manager here at Amsive. So my job is basically optimizing customer journeys from when they land and to get them to the actual conversion point. And I do that through lots of user behavior analysis, testing, and heat maps.
No, very good. Yeah, so I think we'll dive right into it. And I have to say, for years I was waiting for you and team because we all are on these platforms where bidding strategies and the Amazon store and concentrating our efforts there, but we never look at, hey, D2C or B2B company, just what are we doing for incremental conversion rates, right? We're paying for all this traffic, or organically we're getting all this traffic. But then there was always that missing element. All right, how do you optimize that experience for conversion rate? So I should probably start off with a very rudimentary question. When we say CRO, what does that mean, and what does that entail?
Yeah, let's start with the basics. So CRO is conversion rate optimization, obviously. Think of it like a bucket, right? So it's a very common analogy in CRO. So the water is all your marketing efforts. So all your spend, and it basically incorporates your traffic as well. CRO fixes the leaks within that bucket. It stops any abandonments, any exits, any bounce rates. It optimizes the website to ensure that the intent is clear and they stay on the website as long as they can.
Very cool. Yeah. So the bucket analogy always works. I use that for paid as well.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
So with that said, what are some of the common things that either we see in the industry or just, even in general at Amsive here?
So this is a really interesting topic. I love talking about this, and me and Tom.
No, you get excited about this
all the time.
I try to tell you about what I'm going to do this week, and totally not interested. But
yeah, I'm sorry.
Talk about optimization. You're there.
for sure. So let's say we have a new website to look at. The first things I look at are key best practices, right? So when a visitor lands on the page, the first thing they see is the hero, right? So they're looking for, what is this website's intent? What is this website trying to do that's different to another competitor, for example? So you need a very clear value proposition. And many times when I look at websites, it's often just a big image with some cryptic headline, or it's not clear exactly why a customer would want to be there. Right. So anything above the fold is critical, absolutely critical. So it's function over style for the most part in terms of CRO.
And then I would just maybe interject, above the fold typically would be for desktop. I assume what you would see on desktop pretty much takes, would you differentiate at all above the fold mobile and desktop? Because would there be a difference?
So technically no, but theoretically yes. So on mobile, you're far more common to scroll because it's far easier with your finger, right? So it's less prioritize on mobile, but for desktop specifically, above the fold is completely critical.
Yeah, got it. And what are some other elements, I guess, besides above the fold?
So oftentimes, of course, landing pages are really important. So whenever you buy something, what are the two things you always look for? You always look for the price, you always look for the reviews or any kind of testimonials. A lot of the websites that Tom and our team look at, they have them, but they're often buried far down the page. So the key of CRO is thinking of the landing page itself as a journey, right? So you have the hero image and the hero banner itself. Does that do the job enough to convince the user to stay? If not, then the next section needs to be more compelling. It needs to answer questions that the hero didn't answer. So we usually put reviews relatively high, but not too high. But some websites don't even have reviews or testimonials at all. And it's not just reviews and testimonials, it's also awards. If your company has awards, you definitely want to showcase them. But it's more about how you prioritize and how you show them that's important.
Yeah, I don't know, makes sense. I guess maybe before we kind of dive into those sites, looking forward to doing that.
Yeah,
You know, what are I guess some red flag? What are the top things that we typically see are issues that we look to address?
So CRO is all about CTAs. CTAs are obviously buttons that link to key conversion elements of the website. Most times they're inconsistent. They have bad verbiage, so they'll be very simple, like explore, things like that. CRO is all about emphasizing action-orientated terms, so things like buy now, explore now, buy today. Anything that's immediate is psychologically more impactful than just explore or buy. So those just minor changes like that can have a massive impact on actually converting. And on the same subject, there's CTA's color matters as well, and how clear the CTA is. So if you have a very busy website, which is one of the examples we'll be looking at soon, you need to make that CTA stand out still. So that's the major red flag. Tom, if you have any
yeah, no,
any
and
red
I
flags
think,
that you see?
a lot of, like, that's a lot of what we see. And I think the why
Right.
we see is most sites are responsive now, meaning, they resize appropriately for desktop and mobile and everything in between. But we still see a lot of people just taking that desktop version and collapsing it into a more vertical format without really looking at it on mobile first and saying, does this make sense now? Ben made a great point about how that landing page becomes sort of the journey you're taking the user through, right? So hierarchy of messaging, USPs, stuff like that. And when you start to collapse it, you might have had two key messages in the header, but now you have one below the fold, right? And that's what we see, I think, a lot of is desktop, even though it works appropriately and it looks nice, it's an afterthought. And a lot of times, it's all just the same content. And we make the point on mobile, you should really reevaluate the content. Do you need all of the content? Should the content be different? Do mobile users use the site differently? Are they looking for different information? And I think that's a common pitfall we see.
Yeah, I think, Ben, for years I've been my approach has always been not even e-commerce, just in general. It's like, who are you? What do you do? And what do you want me to do next? Is what I always told clients or prospects. Is if you hit those 3 W's, even on slides and presentations, is that like an easy way, or is that applicable to e-com? Is like, who are you? What do you do? And what do you want me to do next? Or what is this if it's a product? Right? Yeah. Is that a good way of kind of distilling it? Because again, it's so many elements, and I think you're hitting on, well, what is this, right? When someone lands on, what's the story, and is it concise? Is it clear? Otherwise, they're not going to know what to do if that story is not succinct. Is that fair to say?
That's completely fair. I think a stat that definitely solidifies what you just said is I believe it's around, a user takes like around 10 seconds, let's say, to actually make their mind up when they land on a website, if they intend to stay there. So you need the website to actually have those things clear immediately.
Yeah.
And that particular stat has stayed relatively consistent for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
So that just clarifies how important that is.
Yeah, I think our really intelligent brand strategy team always says it really well. Like, people aren't interested in you, they're interested in themselves. And I think as a brand, you have
Yes,
to
very
remember
true.
that, right? Sometimes you're talking to yourself about certain benefits of a product or something. It might not be the ones that people actually care about. What's the benefit to the consumer? And again, I think, that's what Ben does, right? He helps brands test these things and decide, and you let the data decide, what actually matters to people.
Yep.
Yeah. And before we get into these sites, so some quick tools. What do we use and why do we use it for CRL testing?
Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit nerdy here.
Okay.
So we'll start really simple. So heat maps.
I'll leave then. I'll be back.
Yeah. So heat maps are essentially maps that overlay the website and showcase where users are spending the most time.
Right.
So you'll have like red moments where users are interacting with menu items usually, or CTAs, and obviously as you scroll down, it'll get cooler and cooler because most people don't scroll at all, and if they do, engagement drops significantly as they do. So heat maps are number one. And then we use software itself. We specifically use a software called VWO, which allows us to A/B test. So really concisely, A/B testing is two different landing pages. One is the original, obviously, and one is a variant. And in the variant, we will adjust a single thing. So, for example, a color of a button, the text within a button, or maybe even shuffle sections around. And we'll run this for about 2 weeks on average, and we'll see which one works best. And if the variant wins, great, we'll implement it, and we'll use, even if it doesn't win, we still get an insight from that, right? So we can build another test that builds upon that. So A/B testing is a very significant part of my job.
Yeah.
So those two are the major things. And Tom, do you want to add to it?
I think a common misconception about that, Ben, that we hear, right, is that a client needs to have their development team involved,
Right.
or if it's not our development team, right, that's doing the work, where it's going to be a lot of work to test a new layout or to change an element on the page. The tool is great. What the tool really allows us to do is we put one very small snippet of code on the site, and you could do it through like Google Tag Manager. And then that allows Ben and his team to remotely, through our software, manipulate components on the website, right? So the developer intervention is usually zero, right? So I think a lot of people think there's a lot of tech heaviness here, and there's none.
Yeah, and that's the most simple way, I think, to kind of just dive into CRL testing, right? It's just that split A/B. When does it make sense to get more complex and do multivariate?
So multivariant is actually something we did very recently for one of our clients. It's usually good for image variants. So imagine that you have a website and you have a list of categories, and within those categories you have images, obviously. You want to find out which image resonates best with your visitors, which gets the most clicks. So for multivariant testing, we'll have maybe 10, 20 images, and we'll evenly distribute the traffic to each one to see which gets the most engagement. But not just the most engagement, obviously we want the most sales, we want the most conversions, and we'll use our software to determine the best one. And the best part about that is if we do find one that is significantly stronger, it doesn't just have to change on the site. You can use that within a larger scope. So you can use that in marketing going forward, knowing that you have data to back it up.
Yeah. So I guess it's just an easy way to kind of accelerate learnings, I guess, if you have
Exactly. Yeah.
philosophy.
Yes.
Makes sense. So yeah, let's just dive into this first one, which
Okay.
I like, because I like the colors. I might even order a product. Smaller site. It's called Larissa's Kitchen, and I forget who gave it to us, but I appreciate you allowing us to kind of use this. So this is I meant to bring up the homepage first, right? So let's go to the homepage.
Yeah, let's start with the homepage.
First thing. So what are things that stand out here besides the ticker, I guess, right?
So,
go ahead.
So there's I want to start with the good things first. First of all, I actually genuinely love how much character this page has. In terms of grabbing the visitor, it impacts perfectly. It's exactly what it should be doing.
Yeah.
It clearly gives you the value of the product. It has a unique selling point, certified free from 12 allergens. That's fantastic. That's exactly what a selling point should be. In terms of perhaps areas for improvement, because the website is so vibrant, it detracts slightly from the actual CTA itself. And what the website has done is actually pretty impressive. They've made the button the simplest part of the above the fold. It's just a clean white button. So it does actually work. The only thing that I would suggest for this is padding. Because there's so much stuff in one confined space. The CTA, even though it is rather distinct, it could be more distinct by just padding or maybe reducing the size of the icons below it. Anything that helps draw the user's eye straight towards it.
Right. And I mean, I wonder what you guys think. The first thing, honestly, I look at is the ticker, right? And it almost, and maybe this good segue into, hey, where the opportunities are is like, will we see more click depth, I guess, maybe if we remove the ticker at all? I see the benefit of it and I get it, but it almost, I'm curious if you guys, that's where your eye goes as well, is that ticker.
So I have an opinion, but I want Tom to.
Yeah, go ahead.
perhaps.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben. You're the expert. Let's hear it. I've got my own thoughts. Let's hear it.
I actually think I might have an opposing opinion to you guys. I actually like it a lot. And the reason I like it is not only because it gives you information, it draws your eye there. And often with websites, especially with large heroes like this, people forget they could even scroll. This brings their eye straight to the bottom, and it makes them think, okay, well, what else can I see? So they scroll down. It draws their attention essentially, which is fantastic.
So I agree, actually, Ben.
Okay,
what I don't like about it is most of this hero, including the ticker, is not clickable, right? So I can't click on the product image. I can't click on.
Yep.
So to your point, my eye goes to the ticker, but it's not a CTA, and I can't. It's a little bit of a dead end from that perspective.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
That's interesting. I didn't realize.
Site, right? Like, I just love the bold branding.
Me too. It's awesome. Rare nowadays, honestly.
So it's funny. I would have. That's intuitive that if you click on this, you go to the PDP. So that's actually another. Although I do like how it peels this open here.
Yeah, me too. Personality is great.
Is fun.
I mean, it is cool. But I think behaviorally, we're almost if you expect that you're clicking on a product, it takes you there. That actually might be another opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Should we scroll down or go to a PDP? I'm sorry, Tom.
Before we do, I just want to call out a couple other things. So when I looked at it on mobile, exactly what we were just talking about in terms of the messaging, right? So it stacks, and all of the allergen thing seems to be the USP here, right? The key value prop that goes sort of below the fold. The other thing that I didn't love is the SMS bump, the little, or whatever they're calling it these days, the unlock 15% off. The little dot here, actually covers the hero CTA on mobile.
It does.
So you have to scroll up to be able to click the primary CTA, which obviously.
Oh, interesting. So we're not seeing the benefit of that here. I probably should have used the tool, but on mobile, this is covering up the main.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Got it. Shall I scroll down, or should we go to a PDP?
Let's go to a PDP because there's definitely some interesting things there as well.
Which one do you want? I love these names. Do you want the
like
Smoke Show, the Heat Seeker, the Chicken?
I'm gonna go with the Heat Seeker. Yeah. I like hot.
All right.
So this is actually a perfect one. So I want to talk about reviews real quick because reviews are both very strong for CRO, and they're also like an Achilles heel as well. And it depends basically on the quantity of reviews and the quality of the reviews. Usually when I audit a website, I look for the reviews and see how many reviews there are. If there are, let's say, less than 100 reviews or not enough to really justify the score, a common technique for me is to simply just hide the reviews. You don't always need to have reviews if there's few. But obviously, as you get more reviews, you have to be a little more strategic with how you display it. So instead of maybe showing the star ratings, you just have reviews perhaps a little lower, and consumers aren't stupid. They realize that you're going to highlight the best reviews, but maybe prioritize the best reviews and have negative reviews still there, but make the user work to see the negative reviews.
Yeah, so it looks like this is using Yotpo or one of those review tools, right? Like Yotpo, and they've got great moderation tools, right? So you know, it's not necessarily like hiding anything, right? It's about maybe holding those reviews until you have enough that it's an accurate reflection of your whole customer base, right? Because what happens a lot of times is people are more likely to write a negative review when they've had a bad experience, and that could be
exactly,
you know, UPS broke the box during shipping and they're mad, so they write a negative review. You don't want that to be your only review, right? You want to have enough reviews where it's an accurate reflection of your customer base, you know, still being authentic, of course, which is sort of the purpose of the reviews, but it's okay to hold those until you have enough, even if you have the other products have them and maybe one doesn't, right?
Yeah, no, that's an important note, and obviously there's importance in reviews, especially with Google search. But it's a balancing act, right? Between the velocity of reviews, number one, getting to a certain level of what you would want to show, and then moderating what would show up as well.
Yeah, and a good way to get there is to aggregate reviews from other sources, right? If you're on Amazon as well, you can aggregate reviews with a lot of platforms, and that's another way to gain critical mass on your D2C site with reviews.
Ben, anything else on this?
Yeah, actually, it's a very minor thing, and it's slightly relevant to this, but on a more broader term. If you look at under the pricing, there's 12 and 24. You might notice that the pricing is you actually save if you buy a larger amount. Now, obviously, it's kind of clear that you do, but there's no mention that you do.
I don't think it's clear, Ben, because I didn't even notice that.
You didn't work that out? Okay.
That's where you like 4% straight through the price, right?
So you save like 4%.
Buy more and save.
I didn't know either. Ben, only you would know that with your
math. You did the math, that's why.
But it's a good way to increase AOV, right? So just mention it anywhere. Like it can be like Tom said, you just cross it out and say save 4% or whatever. Like
you're right. It's such a simple thing.
Exactly.
But already, two of the folks on this call didn't even realize you do save. I mean, maybe we should have noticed that, but it's when you're so bombarded with websites and a whole bunch, those little things do matter. So,
and when you look at your own website all the time, right? When you look at your own website all the time, you don't think, or you're blind by it. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So just tiny things like that are very crucial.
The other thing that I feel like this site would really benefit would be more expedited payment methods for mobile, right? So this feels like a huge mobile. I would think 70% or more of sales on a site like this would come from mobile, right? Almost impulse purchases through meta ads or something like that. Having Apple Pay are actually the one I think we see the most traction with our clients, with our e-com clients, is Amazon Pay. As a payment option on here would be great. This looks like it's a Magento site.
So I wonder,
Braintree, so that should be doable. Technically speaking, it should be doable. So that would be really, I think that makes this a quick impulse purchase, right? There's not much to think about. There's like PayPal on the checkout, but you can have an Apple Pay button right on the PDP, and right from here I can check out without leaving a Facebook app and all that.
Yeah, and we talked about the homepage, the PDP, but critical piece is like even that checkout experience, and then figuring out. I'm actually not able to add to cart. I'm not sure if there's an issue or because I'm sharing my screen.
Actually had that issue too.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a huge opportunity.
That's a huge problem. That would be something that needs to be fixed. Yeah.
And is there with those little things like that, right? And by the way, I want to, love that a few folks just volunteer so that we can kind of use this as a use case. Are there tools that can notify? I know there are, Tom, but on top of my head, what can notify us if there's something wrong, like the add to cart in a particular PDP?
Yeah.
Is there a go-to for that?
Yeah, I mean, it really varies, right? So, in particular, this site looks like it's on Magento. With Magento, we tend to use New Relic, which is like the Magento or the Adobe now, as it's owned by Adobe now, the Adobe Cloud sort of preferred monitoring tool. But you could do it pretty simply with something like a Pingdom, where you just set up a recurring test, and every day, every
Yeah.
hour, whatever you want, it'll go through the site, add to cart, click checkout, and alert you if there's any issues.
Yeah, because I was saying, just for being allowing us to do this, I'd love to buy a few. So if we can figure that out. And again,
Mhm.
this is very normal that this stuff happens. Is so it's like using a pingdom to kind of notify you if something's down.
Mhm.
Yep.
So big opportunity there. But I was mentioning that because even the checkout process, there's this um, opportunity to even test with messaging and or imagery
Yeah.
within that checkout process.
Yep, exactly. So the checkout process is a very strong step. Obviously, it
Yeah,
shows that the user has intent, and intent is exactly what we want. Um, so at that point, you want to emphasize brand trust, customer reviews, testimonials, ease of actually getting through the checkout. So simplified fields, like Tom was suggesting, simplified payment methods. But that is like the moment where you want to push them over the edge with key messaging for sure.
I just noticed an interesting thing. The shopping cart is up here. So I just noticed this. So
Okay, so it was just
Yeah.
adding
yeah, it
items
is a
to it.
little.
Yep.
So Tom, I don't know if this is like a Magento buggy thing.
Yeah,
So
it's a design layout issue, right? So that's a standard message that comes from Magento, and because of the way the logo is, it covers it. Like there is the cart icon in the top right, but if you're not seeing that, then that's part of the issue too, right?
Yes.
oh, that's right.
Um, but someone just said something about mini cart functionality in the chat, right? So sometimes the little mini cart slides down, so and that's kind of default Magento functionality. And on mobile, I actually noticed that same issue earlier. On mobile, the logo is like centered and covers the
Yeah.
message as
Yeah.
well on mobile. So
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. It might just be me, I don't know, but I might be your average consumer. I didn't even know it was into cart, right? But actually, I'll pause for a quick question that came in around, effective ways to optimize PDPs for search engines and user experience without compromising either. That's a bigger one. It might be a
Mhm.
whole nother section.
I mean, there's probably a few. I think the one that's gaining a ton of popularity right now in the SEO community, thank you SEO team, is the Q&A feature, right?
Yeah.
So that really helps people answer people's questions about what they're buying, and Google is loving Q&As these days, from what I hear from our SEO ecom experts.
Yeah, and we will be doing another SEL session on PDP optimization. Next time is actually Amazon, but that is obviously a core area, and always a little bit of a balancing act. Well, I will say, I was doing a class night last night. I was explaining how product pages have a different bar of indexing and crawling from Google versus your more comprehensive articles, right? So your competition is your competition. Look at those products and try to understand why they're there. But there's so much more that goes into it, link equity, et cetera. But great topic for another one. And we mentioned we're using VWO as a tool for us. Why VWO, Ben? Just curious.
Purely out of experience,
Yep.
it's a very advanced tool. It allows me to. I'm just basically used to it.
Yep.
I used to use
We do
Summon
have
tools.
clients who bring their own, and in those cases, we work with other tools as well. But for doing it
Right.
at scale, for us, VWO has been a great partner for us too.
Yes.
Okay.
Flexible for us in terms of pricing for clients, getting clients a good rate on that
Yeah.
tech stack.
May check the speed on this too, right? Because I'm noticing, right? So we could just use page speed insights from Google to understand.
Yep. Absolutely.
There are some things that we can do there. So let's go on to another website before I get hungry. And again, thank you for whoever submitted this. And totally different. We're I think on the B2B spectrum. I guess this is sorry, we literally are doing this live. We haven't looked at this, and that was intended so that we would have a
Yes.
first look at it and look at what pops up to us. But when you go on this homepage, Ben, what are, we've got all the cookies, so I'll allow all
Yeah.
cookies.
So the cookies are fine. So the first thing I see is the hero banner, right? It's really large, and the content within it doesn't really justify its size,
Right.
and it kind of hides the sections below, which are the key sections. Can you hover over the menus? Okay, so there's also the issue that none of them have drop downs. So
Might be
just
on
simple
click.
things,
Is it on click, the drop down?
maybe.
No.
No. Interesting.
So yeah, so that's definitely something that would save a user a page and clear a step from the actual the customer journey itself. So that's an important thing. The search bar being rather large is really important as well, because that's obviously a very key feature. But the hero is the thing that keeps grabbing me here, because the image is so big and there's just so much empty space. There's so much.
Yeah, that navigation then to me just doesn't feel very product centric or shopping centric. Like even just having home in the menu feels like a waste of a link.
It
right?
feels
like
a
everyone
little
at this point,
legacy
I
for
think,
sure.
knows you can click the logo.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
even if not, like, is the homepage really where you're trying to get people back to? That's like a step back in the user journey, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And
I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. You're saying you would not have home in
correct.
the nav.
Yeah. Yeah. And just that buys you some real estate to work with too, right? Clear some
Yep.
clutter. I mean, maybe there's a reason you do want to drive people to the homepage, but usually, you're trying to get them further down the funnel than that, right? Not backwards. And even the products, right? One link for products generally on a site like this, you probably have shop by product type, by industry, right? Maybe multiple shop by product types. Again, just making it more product centric.
Yeah, I like the shop by industry and shop by category.
Yeah.
The sections down here which split it up. That's a really interesting and convenient thing to do.
Yeah.
Ruben, let's try something. Try to get to a product page of anything. Let's see how many steps it takes. So that's 1.
Standard clamps.
2.
And then I guess I have to click on one of these.
3. Is there anywhere to buy it here yet?
No, and I wonder if this is a
B2B
quote. You gotta.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely it.
But
what happens when you click those names?
So
this is a PDP, right?
Yeah.
So that's 4 clicks to get to a PDP.
Interesting.
So there's definitely room for improvement. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, and the message, like the language around like the fact that this is a B2B site, where's sort of the lead gen along the way to get you to request an account or create an account, right? To get pricing, like, it's just like pricing on request or something, right? It should be about getting value pricing, B2B discounted pricing or something. Yep. More of an incentive than, saying you're just, not sharing the price with you. I would think, I agree that that's a lot of clicks, and that's because the category structure in the menu. But so a site like this, I would think, is heavy on search, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
Like, this is a clamp. Ruben, can you search for clamps in the menu?
Tom, I did the exact same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing in my head. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a site, a no-brainer, benefits from like a third-party search tool, SearchSpring, Algolia, work with one of them, build out a first-class search experience, because I agree, Ben, we need to fix that category structure and that menu. But I bet 90% of people are coming to this site searching for exactly what they're looking for anyway, right?
Oh, it's funny. So if you do
exactly.
non-plural, you'll get it.
Yeah. Okay. So so no fuzzy search, no search, no auto complete. Stuff that for a site like this you're gonna want. But
mobile must be even more complicated, or cumbersome, right? So that's something else to think about as well.
So there looks like there's two big areas of opportunity, or at least that I'm kind of taking away is number one, I guess the logic should be more, I guess, broad. I'm thinking Google Ads here, broad match of whatever that
Yes.
product is, which is not just clamp. So the example
Such
here,
a Google guy, broad match.
yeah, I know clamps. We don't get it if we put clamps, so it's something to kind of check on. And then in the PDP, again, and we don't have the business context here, so we'll keep that in mind. But
yeah, exactly.
The assumption could be, I know obviously you contact sales, but hey, I'll take their email address. Right?
Yeah, there's some lead gen worked in, right? Like most of the time with these B2B sites, yeah, there's like the e-commerce component, but it's really about increasing the number of accounts, right? Like having a rep follow up with them or helping them find the rep for their area or their business size. So that's just, I think, just missing from all the messaging here on the site when you come here if you're not familiar with.
Yeah, you're almost making it a little bit more. It's harder for the decision maker or the buyer.
Yeah.
Like, all right, contact sales. Actually, I don't even know what number I'm supposed to call.
Right. Another great call out. Yeah.
So I think again, and you don't know the sales force behind it, right? So maybe it's minimal, but intuitively, I would think I'll take their email address and phone number, right? So that sales can reach out to them, make it easier for them. Yep. So that looks like an opportunity, but also you build a database, right, of those who were interested prospects. That to me might be a big change. I don't even know that you need to test that, by the way, but I think we would kind of happen.
I do want to mention one thing, and this is something that we've been utilizing a little bit and continuing to grow in Amsive. This would be a key website to use VWO on, and it wouldn't be specifically for A/B testing. It would be for session recording. I'd love to see how users actually navigate this website. We could determine how long they spend on particular pages, find the pain points in the actual journey, and try to adjust it based on that. Heat maps would also be fantastic for the site as well, I think.
And maybe explain a little bit what session recording is, what that means.
Okay, so it is a little creepy. It's a little creepy. So basically what it means is when a user lands on a website, our software immediately starts recording them. It monitors their mouse movements, the pages they go to, how long they spend on those pages, what they do on those pages, and maps out the journey and when they actually exited or made a conversion. And we collect them randomly because obviously we can't collect them all. It would be illegal, of course, but the VWO uses particular algorithms to pick specific users, and it allows us to really see how users navigate websites. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think we've learned, we've gained insights from that you would never get from just looking at Google Analytics, right? I always use the example. We had a client that had a email sign up form in the top right corner of their header, and we would never have known, but we looked at the session recordings and realized everyone thought it was a search box. Right. Searches into an email sign up form, right? You're just not going to get that insight from Google Analytics, right?
So you're getting a lot of interesting emails.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense, right? Where is the search box typically on a site? Like for a bite. So how it ended up there, I don't know, before our time with the client, but regardless, it's a really great insight. So yeah, session recordings are very cool. And yes, very creepy at times, Ben, but important to note, anonymous, and it does not show any sensitive data that people.
Not at all. Oh no, it hides all sensitive data. Yeah.
It's privacy included.
For sure.
So two things that I don't even think you need to test is obviously fix the search logic to capture plural version, other versions. Clearly, they're okay with someone reaching out because it's on the contact us. So maybe putting that on the PDP as a field would make sense. I don't know that you would even test that. So as far as, hey, what is the first test you would do on this site? Is there anything that kind of sticks out to you? Would it be the homepage?
Oh, for sure, it would be the homepage. It would be the homepage for sure, because obviously it's the highest traffic. And the reason we do that, pick the highest traffic website page, is because it gets us data insights way faster, because we're obviously getting way more traffic and we're getting answers to our experiments way faster. And we usually always start small as well. So it'll be a minor change. It will probably be like the CTA here. We'll change the color, the verbiage, see how it resonates with the visitors, and then we can determine future tests going forward.
And then I wanted to make sure, hey, if you were going to test the first thing on this first site that we saw, would it be? Would it? It would probably be the homepage. What would be the first test you do here?
It would probably be the padding for the CTA, I think, or reducing the size of the icon slightly, just to see how, and it will be very slight, just to see how much impact that has on the CTA. And then, like I said, we can build from there. But for the most part, I actually genuinely love how this website looks.
I would test different messaging in the hero on mobile, right? Because I think, you know, you make we all are making an assumption that the allergen thing is the thing that's going to drive sales here. But I think, you know, we talk a lot about guiding people through the funnel, and that starts offsite, right? So where is the majority of traffic coming from? Are they coming from an ad that already told them about the allergen benefits? Right. And now we need to follow up with the secondary messaging in the journey of flavor. So I would test different messaging in that hero as well, because that's such a simple test to run and might be pretty enlightening.
And all right, and let's support them. Let's go and buy some. I'm going to buy a heat seeker. Now that I know where the add to cart is, so we can go ahead and support them. Thank you both, whoever submitted these.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun, and would love to maybe do this again in the near future. Is if you're interested in us having fun with your site, kind of looking at it and letting you know what.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Nothing, you know, not problems, just opportunities, right? Just
always.
You know, Ben says all the time, right? I'm stealing your lines here, Ben, but you know, like CRO is never really done. You can always optimize more. So, you know, even if you have a great site, you know, we can.
There's always opportunities for CRO. Always.
All right. So I think with that, I don't know if you guys want to leave us with anything. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up here because
I think I'm good.
I think we're at the end here.
To the people who sent in the sites and those who contributed in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. And then whoever's watching the recording, a lot of views come in over the weekend, so which is pretty intense weekend to be watching CRO. It's when you have downtime. I totally get it. So Ben, I want to thank you.
It's a big deal, this show, Ruben. You know, this is the Catalina wine mixer of live streams, right?
I love that.
This is perfect.
Step Brothers. No one got it. Okay.
So Tom, want to thank you again. Always great having you. Ben as well. Appreciate your time. And let's do this again sometime.
Please.
And that's it. So next session will be in 3 weeks, October 25th. And we're going to bring in Matt Poley from Conduit Brands, who we partner with when it comes to Amazon storefront or PDP optimization. So he's going to share kind of like the latest secrets. I don't want secrets, but latest optimization techniques for your P2P on Amazon. So it'll just be all Amazon. If you have an Amazon store, if you know someone who has an Amazon store, we'll put the link probably like right after the recording up. The image is ready to go, and then we'll go from there. But I want to thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. So I guess that's it. So have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.